The introduction of modern technologies, improvement of the personnel training system, and balanced development of the regions of Malaysia. These are the tasks that form the basis for the country's economic strategy until 2020.
Last year, Malaysia recorded a GDP growth of 5.9%, which was very impressive, and we expect this growth rate to be continued until the end of 2018. Export or rather international trade is a very important contribution to our GDP growth. For last year in 2017, Malaysia's total trade amounted to 413 billion US dollars. We exported products worth 218 billion US dollars, and we imported 195 billion worth of products from overseas. So, which means that we are registering a trade surplus in our balance of trade. In fact, we have been recording a trade surplus for over 200 months straight since November 1997 after the Asian financial crisis.
Today, Malaysia is interested in diversifying its sales markets, and it is ready to develop partnerships in Eastern Europe, Ukraine in particular, Poland and the Czech Republic, in addition to its traditional trading partners such as Singapore, China, the United States and Germany. The Malaysian Ministry of Trade initiates visits of trade delegations to Kyiv with the aim of activating economic ties.
Cooperation is an agency under the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, Malaysia. Our function is to assist Malaysian companies, especially SMEs, to find partners overseas. And this time around, we came to Kyiv, to Ukraine. We have with us 5 Malaysian companies representing 3 major sectors in Malaysia, namely processed food, automotive components, as well as medical devices. So we are pleased to be here in Kyiv, and as we speak right now, Malaysian companies are having B2B business-to-business business matching with local Kyiv companies. Western Europe, especially UK, Germany, have been our traditional trading partners in Europe. But we see Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Poland, Hungary, for example, Czech Republic, for example, have great potential for Malaysian companies to find partners in this area.
After trade between Malaysia and Ukraine declined in 2014, the two countries have since then actively revived and are developing cooperation. In particular, an intergovernmental agreement on the avoidance of double taxation was signed in Kuala Lumpur in 2016. Then in 2017, the first official meetings were held between the competent authorities of Ukraine and Malaysia, during which the two sides discussed the possibility of the supply of Ukrainian meat and dairy products to Malaysian markets.
At the official level, I think we don't have any problem. We need, like I said just now, a more active dialogue between companies in our two countries. We would like to see, currently our bilateral trade between Malaysia and Ukraine amounted to USD 210 million, which is very, very small. In fact, we used to have a total trade of over 600 million US dollar prior to 2013. So we like to see that number to return to the previous level, and we already see this since last year, and this year, the first 4 months this year, that trend is continue to increase. Our bilateral trade last year at 210 million USD grew by 25%, which is a double-digit growth, which is very high actually. Our export to Ukraine increased by 19%, but our import from Ukraine increased by 28%. So total trade increased by 25%. So very good for last year. And this year, like I said, until April just now, we see a growth, I think about 9%, you know. So that is only for the first 4 months.
In recent years, the number of trade delegations from Ukraine to Malaysia has also increased. In 2018, more than 20 Ukrainian agricultural companies visited Kuala Lumpur. However, the agricultural sector is not the only one that is of interest for partnership. The healthcare sector, production of electronic equipment, and the food processing industry are also of great interest for both sides.
We found a lot of similarities between the economic structure of our two countries. Ukraine is very strong in medical devices, in automotive as well as processed food. We hope after this there will be a lot more engagements, a lot more active communication between companies in our two countries, not only in these three sectors but also in other sectors as well. We have other sectors like mentioned just now, electrical and electronics. We have sectors like oil and gas. We have sectors like services, for example, financial services.
Malaysian entrepreneurs had not only noted the great potential in the creation of joint Ukrainian-Malaysian enterprises, but also engagement in potentially profitable investment projects.
There are several forms of collaboration that they are looking at. Obviously, number one is to find importers and distributors of their products, but as we heard just now in the session, there are also companies looking at being distributor of Ukrainian products in Malaysia. So it can work both ways. And we are not only talking about direct export from Malaysia to Ukraine, but it could be arrangement in terms of contract manufacturing, in terms of OEMs. We welcome, for example, Ukrainian companies to outsource some production of products in Malaysia. We have been receiving requests from companies around the world, United States, Western Europe, Japan, Australia, and all that. So we welcome that kind of collaboration as well.
The Ministry of Trade of Malaysia believes that plans of partnership between businessmen can only be realized through mutual cooperation. Therefore, we have intentions of continuing to stimulate mutual visits between the most progressive Malaysian and Ukrainian entrepreneurs.
I'm very pleased with the outcome of our visit this time, the feedback that we received from the companies. I think we had a meeting this morning as well, besides the B2B session going on at the moment. There was a very strong interest among the Ukrainian companies, the supermarkets, for example, to form collaboration with Malaysian companies that came here today. Not only for supermarkets, but also for medical devices as well. This is only the first time that they met, but we are happy that at least the interest is there, and we would like to see them to continue to discuss. I see there's a great potential for Ukraine to become a gateway to Western Europe. All in all, we are looking at creating a mutual benefit between Malaysian companies and Ukrainian companies.